You're not a machine, you're a human being. Good morning, good evening, or good night to the lovely people watching. In today's video, we'll be speaking about that you are a human being, you're not a machine. A machine can multitask, a machine can answer just like that, and a machine is capable of a lot of sort of things. But one thing that a machine can't is feel. A machine can never understand the complexity or how emotions truly are. Whenever you fall in love, you know how that feeling is, like the tightening in your chest, like the butterflies in your stomach, and you feel all giddy. When you feel anger, you feel your blood circulation is flowing much more quicker, and your body temperature rises to a certain extent, and you ready yourself, and my muscles tightens, and your oxygen level. When you're sad, you cry, and you sit down in the shower and cry your eyes out if something happened, like you went through a breakup, you lost someone. A machine can never understand the complexity of how a human being truly works. Why am I saying this? Because your mental health is something that is very important. I, not too long ago, had a burnt out. Burnout was basically that I was working so many hours and I was training so extensively that my body could barely keep up. The same went for my mental health, that I was basically around the clock 24/7 working on my business, working on YouTube, working on making money, trying to make things go around, and I was basically using energy everywhere, right? And at the end of the day, what happened was I just went to bed and but I still couldn't sleep because my brain was thinking consistently, oh, we still have this and this unchecked. So some nights I was just on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and other times I was basically on 2 or 8. What ended up happening was I burned myself out and I got sick. I got sick to the point where food didn't even enter my system because I was throwing up, because my nervous system was so on alert constantly. And yes, I called in sick for work because I was pushing myself limits and limits and limits. I was covering people's shifts and I was basically turning myself into a machine. What ended up happening was that when something emotional were to happen, I didn't even respond because all these emotions were shoved to the back of my skull. And then it was just one day when I woke up and I had tried to have a shower, the tears just started to run. I just had a full on breakdown because I was working day in and day out, day in and day out. And you can say whatever you want with these masculine people, or yeah, they have the same period of time, or good for them. I mean, we're speaking about you and me. We're speaking maybe about average or above average people that are just trying to make ends meet. The reason I had this period of time in my life was because I had a few bills at the time that I was due, and I called these companies and I was behind on payment. That's why I was covering the extra shifts. I received my paycheck a few days later and I paid all the bills off. I had basically maybe $500-600 left of that paycheck to use on whatever I wanted to. After I bought food, after I had paid all the bills, and it was nice to see that all these work shifts kind of paid off. It was just a little breathing room for me before I had to enter a new period of time of continuously with this work. During that session, when I was pushing myself to the absolute limit, my threshold for caffeine was exceeded twice as much. The amount of pre-workout I took during the time was deadly amounts. I was even contemplating, I say contemplating, remember that, taking drugs to stay awake, to be more efficient. When I started to have contemplations about things that are illegal, I started to realize that my mental health had met a wall, because I'm the type of person that, no to drugs, no to things that are illegal. I have a specific boundary for a lot of things, but since my threshold was pushed so far during this burnout session, or just overall, the contemplation about something that is not good for you, but it can give you the short-term boost that you need, the thought of it and even the temptation of it was, I already know a person that is a dealer. Why? I had to literally sit down and journal for 2 hours straight and say, you know what? No to this, no to that. The reason we're not following through this is because this, and this. I live with a simple rule. If the negative outweighs the positive twice as much, the action you're about to do is not worth it. And that sort of principle kicked in really hard because, well, take cocaine as an instance. Damn, you feel alert, your nervous system is bam, right? Same goes for nicotine. It hits your nervous system immediately. I'm on alert, right? And then when you have a crash or the come down comes, right? Then your brain and nervous system, well, we need another hit. We need this sort of feeling again. We felt alive. My hobbies, my projects, the things that I like to do and to calm my brain, everything was put aside. I lost a part of myself during this work period. And that's not good because I just basically became a machine and I contemplated doing things that are illegal, to be awake during this time, to present myself for a company that doesn't give jack shit about me if I died tomorrow. And that's the second thing I'd like to speak about in this video. The company you work for, or your business for that sake, remember that this is a brutal reality of it, and it's a little harsh, I can understand that, but if I were to die tomorrow, just to give you an example, and I didn't show up to my shift, most likely a few phone calls, someone else had to cover my shift, a week later, people found that I'm gone, people would mourn for a few months, my family would be devastated for the rest of their life because they lost their son, and the company, do you know what would happen to the company? They would have to replace me because I'm not showing up to the position that I usually work. The company itself will still go around. The world will continue to move on even if I'm gone. The company and the world doesn't give a rat's ass if I die tomorrow. They will replace me like that. Because the world and the company sees us as basically machines in the great cog, in the great wheel. The only people who would truly care if I were to be gone would be my close friends and my family. Your health and your mental health is much more important than some company out there. So if you're like me, that you were raised that you show up on time, you do the tasks you're supposed to, and be a good boy. But you have limits. So if you basically call in sick a day and say, you know what, someone else needs to cover my shift. Fine. You have X amount of 6 days and you have X amount of weeks of vacation. If you feel like you're about to have a burnout session or about to meet the wall mentally or physically because you're pushing yourself too hard, call in. I'm the person that rarely ever calls anyone for help or overall calls in sick, because I was raised the way where you meet up on time, if you need help, you ask for help. I did that not too long ago. A few weeks back, basically 3 hours before my shift, called my boss and said, you know what, I'm sick today. You don't owe an explanation what kind of sick you are. I just used the sick days leave because I understood that I was about to meet the wall yet again, because I've been pushing boundaries, I've been pushing limits so far that even it affected my physical health, where eating was just, It's not even tempting to grab a sandwich that I would usually love, just, making a homemade sandwich. Me speaking about this makes me want that sandwich. But if you were to ask me about that specific sandwich, that time period, I would have said, it's not tempting. I would look dead, like a corpse that's just pure white, just dead, nothing, no motion. When you show signs of burnout, call in sick. Or I'm not saying that, you should exploit this. When I went to school, when I had a year's course in basically in a something, I don't remember, but I wasn't able to get my diploma for a certain thing because I wasn't able to get up to my exam. During that time period, even through burnout sessions, I showed up. And when the teacher said this message, we have 3 people in this class that have showed up every single day. Yeah. I showed up every single day, even though I became soulless. I became a fucking machine. Becoming a machine in periods of time is pretty good. Like, you go all in on business, you go all in on fitness. That's good, but at the same time, you're a fucking human. You need breaks. You need to step away from the phone. You need to step away from your business. You need to step away from your projects. You just need to, you know what? I'm gonna spend time with Dad.